Hello everyone and welcome to a new Vigor map tutorial, and today we are taking a tour in Viktorsen Station, a lovely little town on a slope next to a train station. Very special map to me personally. I got my very first airdrop on this map ever many games ago, and I really wish I had a recording of that just to relive the adrenaline of that moment. Anyway, Viktorsen Station is a large map with lobbies of 8 to 12 players. It's a snowy map and it's a pretty good map for looting and somewhat friendly for new players. So let's get this tutorial started, and we are starting with our points of interest overview. Most of the points of interest will spawn in the town area, and most of these will be either timed safe or barred house. Container spawns on the outer edges of the map. I only found 4 container spawns on this map. I'm not 100% sure this is correct or not, but this is all I found in my time researching and playing the map. Timed and barred can pretty much spawn in and near any of the buildings inside a town, which is the main playing field of this map. This area will be heaviest populated, and if you have been following the series then you can probably already guess why. Locked container. I have noticed that container is always close to 1 or 2 player spawns, meaning that container will almost always be a point of entry that needs to be rushed if you want to get to it. If you get to it first, you either need to open it very quickly and quietly, or be ready for other players to show up. Definitely a potential early hot zone, which you can either join or avoid at your own discretion. Timed and barred, not much special to say here, approach them like you would on any other map. Next up is the loot distribution. As you can see, most of the loot is concentrated in the main playing field, the town area of the map. All of the houses and their little gardens are the top locations for gathering resources on this map. Fertilizer, glass and chemicals all to be found in decent amounts inside the houses. But you will have to go house to house on this map to collect all of that loot. Wire and electronics, you can get these from the blue electrical boxes around the map. There are a lot of these to find, even outside of the main playing field, and they are definitely worth going to. Nails can also be found in the red boxes around the map. The train station itself does not have that much loot. The trailer camp south is good for some fuel, and the small settlement southwest is also worth your time if you are near it. Finding a blue container is of course always a great boost to your loot. The northeast area is also good for some resources, such as the blue electrical lockers. Northwest and west area, not really worth going. There's not much to find there except for a few of these electrical lockers. Overall, a great map to get a higher loot per encounter. This you can do with a combination of lower tier resources that you can boost with a stack or 2 of electronics. There are no specific locations where you can get a high amount of chemicals on this map. You just have to go through the houses to find these, just like all the other resources. Moving on to the spawns on this map. Usual disclaimer, these may not be all the spawns on the map. I think I found all of them, but there are a lot more variants on Viktorsen than there are on Vigor. I might have missed 1 or 2 near the transformer station and the hideout in the east, but I'm not 100% sure because I did a lot of games to get all the spawn locations. This map kind of deviates from the usual pattern where you spawn around the edges of the map. On Viktorsen you can also spawn closer to the middle, and those spawns also seem to be close to the potential spawns for locked container. I'm not sure if that's a coincidence or an intended mechanic by the devs. If container doesn't spawn or you don't want to go for it, then these spawns will give you a bit of a head start to get into the main playing field. Spawns north and west are the furthest from the main playing field, and while you move towards the town area you have to be alert of your surroundings, which means you will probably get to the main area last. The spawns south and east are probably the better spawns to get to the playing field as first. Alright, time to take a look at signals. There are a lot of potential spawning locations for signal here, like 8 locations. 1 spawns at the smaller settlement west near the lakeside resort, and 1 near the trailer camp. These 2 are a bit neutral to the main playing field. If they spawn there you don't need to worry too much about them unless you want to take one of those exits. Then there is one near the container, also in the south. This one does give you a little bit of control over that southern area in the town. But like I said, more importantly is that these three locations impact your choice of exit. If people tend to camp signals or keep control over one of them, then they can cut you off if you're heading towards one of the southern exits. Then we have a couple that are more concentrated in the middle of the main playing field. One near the waterfall, one near the army truck, and one on the edge of the playing field in between the houses. The one east in between the houses is pretty exposed to used, but all three of these can give you a big control over the playing field. So these three are definitely worth your attention. If you are not the one using them, be aware that somebody else is going to be really close when they do use them. Then we have one a bit north of the main playing field. This one is similar to the one at the containers. It gives you some control over a small area, the north part of course, and it provides you a little bit of information if you are coming from all the way north and you are about to enter or exit the main playing area. There is also one in the east corner at the hideout. This one's a bit far from the playing field, but that does not mean it is neutral to the gameplay. And the last one is northeast, near the exit. This one is, well, it's just good for camping the exit really. Or if container is close by, then it provides a little dynamic to the gameplay, but it's not really that useful. So a lot of potential spots, not all of them are evenly useful in my opinion. Maybe they act more as an area of denial for the players that want to play stealthy and sneaky, or to mentally lock off certain exits, like I said at the beginning of this chapter. So with everything covered, we can take a look at the map dynamics of Viktorsen Station. It's a pretty straightforward map. Loot and points of interest being centered in a specific area. That's something we have seen in most of the maps, and Viktorsen is not any different. I think what sets this map aside from the others is that you need to go through a lot of buildings to get all the loot. There is no other map where there are so many buildings to loot in such a small area. And looting houses makes a lot of noise. People can hear your footsteps and you can get cornered. So being on the inside is not always the ideal situation. Being on the outside isn't per se better. This map has a lot of corners because it has a lot of houses, so you never really know what to expect when you go around one. And the way the spawns are set up, people are going in every direction through the main playing field, so there will be a lot of intersection going on here. However, because there are so many houses and there is a lot of height difference on this map, it's actually easy to cross each other without actually having a conflict or any form of contact with each other. In my experience, you either hear other Outlanders before you see them on this map, or you do see them and from a very far off distance. Despite there being so many corners, there are also a lot of long line side sections, such as the railroad itself. And if you are on the higher levels of this map, then you also have a pretty good oversight over the whole area. This isn't a flat map like Vigor. You really need to keep in mind that people can see you from above as well. This creates a whole different angle from which you need to find cover sometimes. That doesn't mean you per se have control over a situation if you're higher up, like you do on Fisk. Because your targets can easily get behind cover and then just be gone in a couple of seconds and you won't see where they have gone. So cutting off people on this map is a lot more important than just chasing them. And if you're the one that's running away, don't go in a straight line. Even if you're zigzagging, try to go around a house or two to lose your pursuit. Outside of the town area, the trees are places where you can be ambushed or come across other Outlanders who are also going to an exit. The frozen lake in the middle is best to be avoided. You will be spotted from miles away and you have no cover to go to. The lobbies are also not to be underestimated. You will get lobbies with more experienced players and better gear who know what they are doing. A lobby where the majority are raincoats is actually pretty rare. So all by all, a good map to loot on, but not one without risk. Knowing your way around the buildings, where you can get to higher ground or where you can jump down safely and get into cover, that knowledge can be very important to your survival on this map. This is of course all stuff you need to learn by experience, but this map is definitely worth learning, as it is one of the better maps to collect resources on. Moving around on this map is a bit limited because of the altitude differences, and this may be one of the most limiting maps of all when it comes to movement, but it's mostly soft limitations. You have rocks to jump over, fences to climb or vault over, so it's actually just the houses and the buildings that create hard limitations. Next is the Hotzones. I didn't per se find certain locations to be more prone for conflicts than others. It greatly depends on the points of interest spawn and signal spawns. A couple of the early conflict areas are definitely the small settlement at the southwest, the lakeside resort, and the area between the shipping container barn and the train station. Also up north, basically the whole first part of the town, especially if there's no container spawn anywhere, then all those players will rush in the southern direction ASAP and intersect somewhere. Container spawn, like I said, it's like a dynamic hot zone. Players spawn pretty close to it, and if the container is on the map, then there's a chance that it will take some pressure off of the main playing field. People will be occupied there instead, but keep in mind that you can still intersect with them while you head to an exit and they head into the main playing field. Just because they got container already does not mean that ends their playing session. And with that we reach the last part of the video, the exits. Viktorsen has a lot of exits, 7 in total, and 2 of them are locked. The locked ones are quite cheap and easy to open here, only costs 10 wire or 2 electronics, which is pretty cheap, and both are very easy to get from the blue electrical boxes around the map. To the south we have the locked exit in the train tunnel and 2 exits that are open. Both of the open exits have a very exposed area to enter the actual exit area. The one left has you crossing a bridge that's wide open, but it's still a relative safe exit to use. The other one gets camped a little bit more because there's a big rock in front of it and it's very easy to hide on there, unfortunately. Then we have one to the southwest, just past the settlement. It's also a very safe exit to take, but it's a bit far from the main playing field. So if you're going for that one, definitely start your exit run early. Then we have 2 exits to the north. One of them is locked with 2 electronics and it gets camped sometimes too. It's just very easy to hide inside the train wagons, and the crows don't always work here, as I've noticed. The other one is also pretty open and exposed. It's less prone to be camped, but still you can be seen from quite a distance, both approaching the exit and entering the exit. Luckily for us, all of these exits are close to each other. So if you hear crows, you really should be able to get to another exit in time, unless you waited too long. The last exit is the northeast one. Again, it's a pretty open space to approach the exit, and if signals is near it, you can be sure that it's camped as well. It's my least favorite exit on this map, but that's probably just my personal preference. There isn't per se anything wrong with it, but if this one is compromised, then your closest option is a locked exit, which I find less than ideal, even if it's a cheap one. Although 2 electronics should not be an issue on this map. When radiation starts, you should be going for an exit. This map is a bit smaller than Dverg, but it's still quite a walk towards the exits. The one closest to town are okay to get to, but the other ones are a bit further away, and these can become close calls if you don't have iodine or caffeine with you. All by all, you should not have any problem exiting on this map. They're all pretty safe and very accessible. So to recap, town area has all the loot boxes are good, container is a dynamic hot zone, lots of signal detectors, long lines of sight but short windows of opportunities to take out your enemies, and a lot of close corners and house to house movement. Easy exits, even the locked ones. And with that, we conclude our video of the charming Viktorsen Station. A great map to play on, and I hope this video helps you with that. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't seen my previous videos, go check them out, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Bye!